Hello everybody. Today we will talk about the fertilization and what happens after fertilization inside the female reproductive system. So you know that fertilization occurs inside the female reproductive system. So sperm enters into the female body and fertilizes the ovum or egg. So you remember that the fallopian tube or uterine tube is the location where fertilization usually takes place. So in the fallopian tube there is a slightly dilated or wider part that is called the ampulla of the fallopian tube. So let's see, this part is the ampulla of the fallopian or uterine tube. Okay, and you must remember from my last lecture, this is the ovary, and the ovulation is the release of the egg, right? And some follicular cells also come out with the egg. Okay, so this is the egg or ovum that has been released from the ovary, and these are fimbriae, finger-like structures. They capture the released egg and take the egg into the fallopian tube, and this part is called the infundibulum. Infundibulum. It is like, your hand. These are the fingers. Finger-like structures are called fimbriae. And the infundibulum is like your palm, where the fingers are attached to the hand, and then this slightly wider area is the ampulla. So this egg starts to move towards the house. House is the uterus that makes a nice soft endometrial bed, right, to receive the fertilized egg. So here is the endometrium. Okay, endometrium. And when the egg or ovum arrives in this area in the infundibulum, if sperm enters into the female body, this sperm will travel a long way and will get attached to the ovum or egg. Okay, and that will cause the fertilization. Okay, the sperm will get attached to the ovum and will fertilize it. Okay, will penetrate inside the ovum, and that is the fertilization. Million of sperm enter into the female body. However, only one will finally be able to fertilize the egg or ovum. All other sperm will eventually die, okay, and will be absorbed in the female reproductive system, the female body. So this is fertilization. Fertilization. Okay. So let's see what happens during fertilization. This is the egg or ovum, which is much bigger in size than the sperm. And egg is only one, you know that only one ovum or oocyte or egg is released, right, at a time, and it stores huge amount of nutrients, stores huge amount of nutrients and energy. Lot of fat, you know, the chicken egg you eat has fat, that yellow part, right, that gives energy, and also protein, the white part. So lot of nutrients and fats for energy. This stored nutrients will help to grow the embryo in the early part of your life. Okay, so that's why the egg stores a lot of nutrients and energy. So after fertilization, that fertilized egg will start to multiply, quickly grow, right? So to support the growth of the fertilized egg, you need this stored energy. Okay, so now this is the egg, and egg is a single cell. So this is the plasma membrane of the egg or cell membrane. Okay, and around the plasma membrane of the egg you have a thick covering, tough thick covering, that is called zona pellucida. Okay, zona pellucida is a thick covering around the plasma membrane. Okay, so this is the plasma membrane here, and this is the zona pellucida. Okay, so now the sperm gets attached to the egg. So this is one sperm, but many sperm at the same time get attached to the surface of the ovum. Okay, like this, many sperm. And you must remember from the last lecture, the sperm has a head, midpiece, and a tail. So this is the structure of a sperm. So head has the nucleus that has the chromosomes and number, haploid, right? And this is the covering of the head, of the head, like, you know, covering of the head of the sperm. This is called acrosome. Hat or cap-like structure that covers almost half of the head, right? The anterior or front of the head. And I mentioned in last class that this acrosome contains digestive enzyme. Okay, this enzyme is also called hydrolytic enzyme. So this chemical is very important to break the wall of the egg or the zona pellucida. Okay, because you just think that the sperm must penetrate, pass through this tough layer around the egg. So sperm has to destroy it, dig it, right, or drill it to enter. This acrosome contains that enzyme which is digestive enzyme. Also we say hydrolytic, so it causes hydrolysis, hydrolytic enzyme. It has a name, that's the enzyme, digestive or hydrolytic enzyme. And specifically two chemicals or two enzymes are very important to break the wall of the egg or ovum. One is called hyaluronidase, hyaluronidase. This is one, and another is called acrosin. So especially these two enzymes are secreted from the acrosome. Okay, so now let's see here. So from this is the acrosome. Okay, and acrosome releases those chemicals, enzymes, and that helps to break the wall of the egg. So the sperm would move inwards. Okay, and one more thing you need to know, that the sperm is partially activated. The sperm, that is the most mature form, is the spermatozoa. You remember this one, although a mature sperm but not fully activated, not fully activated, although we say it is a mature sperm. Okay, so to make it mature, you need few things. First, the prostatic secretion. Prostatic secretion partially activates. I mentioned it in last class. Prostatic secretion does what? Partially activates the spermatozoa. However, partially activates. However, to make the sperm fully activated, to make it fully activated, the sperm must enter into the female body. Inside the female body, after the sperm enters into the female body, it gets fully activated. So in the male body, by the prostatic secretion, it is partially activated. Then it enters into the female body and get fully activated. And this process, how the sperm gets fully activated inside the female body, that is called capacitation. Capacitation. That means now it is ready to fertilize the egg. It is competent to fertilize the egg. So this sperm is competent to fertilize the egg and will start to get in. Okay. Many sperm start to dig or break the wall of the egg at the same time. However, if one reaches here, then others will start to get in. Others will stop to move in. So they will get like uh, suppressed. They will get inhibited once one arrives into the egg or ovum. It is like many people started uh, running, and if there is like 100-meter race, you have only one prize. Then if you see that one person already reached to the other side, then others will not run. They will get like slow and stop. Same thing here. Many sperm start to penetrate into the egg. However, when one arrives, then others will get inhibited and eventually they will die. So this is fertilization, and in the head of the sperm you have half chromosomes, right? And inside the egg or ovum in the cytoplasm you have half chromosome in the nucleus. So this N is from mother because it is already in the ovum, and the head of the sperm will bring another N. So this is the head of the sperm. Okay, so this is the first cell of life, the zygote. Fertilized egg has 2N. Okay, each N from each parent. Okay, so this is the fertilized egg called the zygote. Okay, so we got the fertilized egg. Now what happens here? You got the fertilized egg. This fertilized egg or zygote will start to move towards the house, towards the uterus, because you have a nice endometrial bed there for the fertilized egg. Now, while the zygote moves towards the uterus, it starts to multiply. So first, the zygote is the first cell of new life, right? So it has 2N chromosomes. It will divide by mitosis. All divisions or multiplications will be by mitosis, because this will form the body, and body is formed by mitosis. Only in sex cells during sperm and ovum production you have meiosis. In all other cases, mitosis is the cell division. So this one will divide first into two daughter cells, right? each will have same number of chromosomes because this is mitosis, right? They will again divide. So that way cell division will continue, okay, to n. Each time you'll get same number of chromosomes, okay. So 1 to 2, then 4, 8, that way it will start to multiply by mitosis, okay. So what will happen here, first you will get two cells, then you will get 4 cells, right? That way it will multiply. Let's see what happens. So here you see this is an egg and so many sperm got attached to the surface of the egg. They are trying to penetrate. Okay, now this is inside the uterine tube or fallopian tube. So you see first what will happen. This is the zygote, will divide into 2 cells. So this is 2 cell stage, 2 cell, this is 4 cell, and these stages are called blastomere. Blastomere. Okay, so this is a blastomere, this is also a blastomere. Okay, 2 cells or 4 cells stages. Okay, blastomeres. Then it will form a solid ball of about 16 to 24 cells. So a solid ball of cells will be formed like this, and that is called morula. Okay, so it's like a mulberry shaped structure, morula. Then what will happen next? This is the early morula. Then you'll get advanced morula. Still it is a solid ball of cells. Okay, so this is morula advanced. Okay, this one. So this is early morula, this is advanced morula. Now you see as the cell division, mitosis is going on, the fertilized egg is moving towards the uterus. Okay, so as it is moving towards the house, multiplication and changes are being taken place. Okay, then what will happen? This is day 4 after fertilization, day 4. So it is close to the uterus. Okay, and at around day 6, after 6 days after fertilization, it will arrive into the uterus, you see here. So it will arrive into the uterus at around 6 days after fertilization. We start counting from the day of fertilization as day 1. So after that, what happens, inside this morula a cavity is formed. So morula is a solid ball, right? So what happens next, a cavity is formed inside the morula. Okay, and this stage is called blastocyst. So this is a blastocyst. No more a solid ball. It has a cavity, and this cavity is called blastocele. Okay, blastocele. It contains fluid. Okay, so now you see this is a blastocyst. So it's a big cavity inside. If you cut it and see inside, you see this is the cavity here, blastocele. Okay, so blastocyst is this whole structure, and blastocele is the cavity inside it. Okay, so now it is ready to get implanted. That means stick to the endometrium, because endometrium has made a soft, thick, nutrient rich bed, right? So it is like when you do gardening, you make a soft bed of soil, put the water and fertilizer to make it nutrient rich bed. So endometrium does exactly same thing, and then what you do, you put the seed right in the bed. When you do the gardening, same thing, the blastocyst will get stick to the endometrium, and that is called implantation. Implantation. Okay, it is like sometime you see a soft thick clay. If you throw a uh, tennis ball from far, it will just get stick to that clay, right? So similar thing happens here. So that is implantation. So now let me draw, only just take this part from here and draw here. So this is the endometrium. Okay, and this is the blastocyst. Okay, now implanted blastocyst, and these are the cells form the shell or outer surface of the blastocyst. Okay, and you will also see that some cells accumulate here inside the blastocyst. Okay, so this part, this outer surface, these cells are called cytotrophoblasts. Okay, these cells that form the shell or outer surface, and these cells inside the blastocyst, uh, they form a mass, and that mass is called inner cell mass. Okay, this inner cell mass is very important, because this inner cell mass will become embryo. Okay, and embryo will become the fetus. Okay, and fetus will become the infant. So you see that inner cell mass is very important. Uh, so this is the endometrium. Endometrium. Okay, and this is the blastocyst. Blastocyst. cyst, and this is implantation right here. Okay, so just remember this much, then we'll move to the next slide. So you see here this blastocyst, it takes about 6 days to enter into the uterus, okay, and then another 2 to 4 days to get implanted. So after it enters into the uterus, it takes another 2 to 4 days to get attached to the endometrium. So altogether, after fertilization, it takes about 8 to 10 days, okay, to get implanted. So from fertilization, which is day 1, to implantation, it takes about 8 to 10 days, okay. Now let's see what happens after that, okay. So let me draw the wall of the uterus, endometrium, and this is the blastocyst, okay, blastocyst, and these are the cytotropoblasts, the cells, cytotropoblasts form the shell of the blastocyst, and let me draw with a different color. Inner cell mass, okay, this is the inner cell mass, and this is the endometrium. So those cells here are attached to the endometrium here, the trophoblasts. They will do what? They will multiply. So they will multiply and will invade inside the endometrium. It is like, after you put the seed, what happens? The root comes out, right? And enters into the soil, ground, and go deeper. Okay, so like that. So these cells will multiply and will go inwards, okay, and then what will happen, these cytotropoblasts will lose the cell membrane, so the cell membranes will get dissolved. Just think that all these cell membranes got dissolved. So what will happen, let me draw here. Okay, so these are the cells, and the cell membranes have been destroyed, so you have only nuclei here, right? All cell membranes got dissolved, disappeared, so many nuclei you can see, but no intact or individual cells, okay. So that is what happens from here to here. And since these cells join together to form one big, structure, no cell members here. It is like a single structure. That's why this is called syncytial. Syncytioblast. You remember when we talked about the heart muscle, all muscle fibers or cells work together called a single unit or syncytium. So syncytium is an unit. So here same thing, all these cells got together, right? So that's why these cells, those got together, joined together, are syncytiotropoblasts. The trophoblast, but what kind of trophoblast? They join together, syncytiotropoblast. Okay, so this is here. You have the inner cell mass, right? So this inner cell mass here will do what? Will form three layers. The cells of inner cell mass will form how many layers? There are three layers. Eventually they will line up. So the inner cell mass will form three separate layers. Okay, so this is another layer. So three separate layers. Okay, and these three layers are very important. These are called germ layers or germinal layers, stem cell layers. Okay, all these cells are stem cells. These cells are very important. We say very often, we use the term embryonic stem cells, right? So these are the cells you do use in research. So these three germ layers are formed from the inner cell mass, and the names of those three layers, this layer is called the ectoderm. So ectoderm, and this middle one is the mesoderm, and innermost one is this one, is the endoderm. Endo means in, right? Endoderm. So you see, these three germ layers are formed from the inner cell mass. Why these three germ layers are very important? Because your body structures are formed from these three layers. Okay, endoderm, let me quickly just briefly go over this endoderm. Since this is the innermost, okay, endoderm forms the intestine, okay, your inner linings of your GI tract, respiratory tract, okay, so all inner linings, also respiratory most of the respiratory system, respiratory organs, pancreas, liver, those most of those organs, inner organs of the body. Okay, intestine is located in the very inner part of the body, right? Inner lining of the tube-like structures. Your pancreas, liver, lung, those organs are mostly formed by the endoderm layer. Okay, so endoderm. Then the mesoderm, the middle layer. This layer mesoderm, this layer is the middle layer, so it forms the muscles, skeletal muscles, okay, your bones, those structures, okay. And then ectoderm, the outermost ectoderm. Ectoderm forms the skin, most part of the skin, brain structures. So those are the structures mainly formed, also part of heart, blood vessels, so circulatory system as a whole. Okay, so those are the structures come from the ectoderm. Now you need to know that the name of those organs come from those three layers. There are some overlapping, like part of the skin comes from ectoderm, part of the skin, because the skin has two layers, you know that, right? Epidermis, dermis. So also some parts of your heart comes from one layer, and other parts from another layer. So there are a lot of overlappings, but in general, those are the three layers, and the structures come from those three germ layers. So here you see this is the structure, primary germ layers, ectoderm, mesoderm, endoderm. Okay, and these three layers form the embryo. Okay, and just know that embryo is used to indicate the develop, the post gestation developmental period, very early stage, from 2 weeks to 8 weeks. So 2 to 8 weeks period of life, first 2 to 8 weeks, that time is the embryonic period. Pre-embryonic is first 2 weeks. So the term we use, pre-embryo, 0 to 2 weeks. So first 2 weeks is pre-embryo, and then 2 to 8 weeks embryo, then fetus. Okay, so now let's quickly go back here. So syncytio trophoblast. Then what happens? This part, the trophoblasts here, they will, so you remember these are the cells from the shell, the outer layer or outer surface of that blastocyst. these are the cytotropoblasts, right? So these are cytotropoblasts. So what happens next? These cytotropoblasts will start to go inwards. Okay, will start to go inwards like this inside the syncytiotropoblast, and will form, you see here, finger-like structures. Finger-like structures, and these are called chorionic villi. Finger-like structures, intestinal villi. Similarly, chorionic villi. Villi is plural and villus is singular. So the chorionic villus here. You see the cytotropoblasts will go inside. This is syncytiotropoblast here. Okay. So now the mother's blood is located just outside of this structure, because this part is mother's body. Endometrium is mother's body, and this is the embryo. So in the wall of the uterus around the chorionic villi, you have many open spaces called lacunae. You have heard this name, lacunae, in bone. You remember the cavities, tiny cavities. So similarly, similar name, lacunae. And these lacunae in the mother's uterus get filled with mother's blood. So just think that these are filled with mother's blood. Okay. And here you have fetus blood in the chorion. This is the chorion. Inside the chorionic villi, you have fetus blood. Okay. So inside the chorionic villi, you have fetus blood, and just outside of the villus, you have the lacunae filled with mother's blood. So what happens from here to here? Just very easy. From the mother's blood, oxygen and nutrients are diffused into the chorionic villi, into the fetus blood. So by diffusion, nutrients and oxygen from this lacuna, the blood inside the lacuna will, that means mother's blood, will enter into the chorionic villi. Okay, so that's how this embryo will get nutrition and oxygen. Okay, so make sense? So here you see, let's now see here, you will understand now easily. So this is inner three germinal or germ layers, right? So this is the embryo here, and these are the chorionic villi. So now, and this is here is the mother's blood inside the lacunae. So this is actually mother's body part, and this is fetus embryo. So by diffusion, nutrition and oxygen will enter into the chorionic villi, into the fetus blood. Okay. Now just to know one more thing here, that chorionic villi or chorion secrete a hormone that is called human chorionic gonadotropin, HCG. Human chorionic, because it is coming from chorionic villi. Gonadotropin is the hormone. Okay, shortcut HCG, human chorionic gonadotropin. And this hormone can be detected in the urine or in the blood of the mother who just got pregnant. So at about like after 10 days after the fertilization, this hormone start to get released and found in the urine or in the blood. So that is a good test for pregnancy. So the presence of this hormone confirms, right, that chorion has been formed. Chorionic villi have been formed and they are secreting that hormone. So this is a confirmatory test of pregnancy. Okay. So that's how you got the embryo. Now if you can take a cell from here, from those germ layers, and you can do a lot of research to uh, form different body organs or parts. That's why these cells are so important, so valuable for the scientists. They get those cells and they know that those cells produce different organs of the body, right? So they can use those cells to form, guide them to form different structures of the body. Okay. So the last thing, twin. The twins could be two types. You probably have heard identical twin is also called monozygotic, and non-identical is dizygotic. Mono means one, di means two. So if one zygote is formed, you see here, this is the egg and this is the sperm. So one egg is fertilized by one sperm, right? That is normal. And one zygote or fertilized egg is formed. So in that case, what happens after fertilization, you remember this is the zygote. Okay. So what happens, it forms two cells, right? Then four cell stages. So two cell stage, then four cell stage. These are called blastocysts, blastomeres. So during the mitosis or division, if for some reason, like here, if these two cells get separated like this and this, and they start to produce more cells separately. So this one will form one embryo, this one will form another embryo, or it can get detached two bodies even after implantation. So could happen before implantation when the mass is moving, embryo is moving towards the uterus, or after implantation, uh, or at morula stage, it can get separated and form two masses. Okay. So normally it should be one, but if it gets separated somehow and form two masses, this one will form one embryo, this one will form another embryo. So coming from one zygote, right? And during the division somehow got separated. So that is why this is called monozygotic, coming from one zygote. And genetically, these two babies will be identical because they are coming from same zygote, right? So these cells are genetically, all these cells are identical. Now we know that normally one ovum is released, right? But there are many million of sperm. So instead of one ovum, if the ovary two ovums get matured simultaneously inside the ovary and get released. That should not happen normally. However, that can happen. So two ovum get matured simultaneously and get released and get fertilized by two separate sperm. So here you see two separate ovums are fertilized by two separate sperm at the same time. So you will get two separate zygotes, right? So two zygotes. And this one will form one embryo, this one will form another embryo. So they are not genetically identical. Genetically they are not identical. Okay, because they are coming from two separate zygote. Okay, so this is dizygotic twin. Okay, so I think that's all you need to know from this lecture. So this is what we need to know after fertilization, what happens.